Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the parliament, and basically under this series that these are the topics we have scheduled for the discussion, like starting with the introduction part, thereafter the organization of parliament, composition of two houses, system of elections to Lok Sabha, duration of two houses, membership of parliament, presiding officers of parliament, leaders in parliament, sessions of parliament, devices of parliamentary proceedings, legislative procedure in parliament, joint sitting of two houses, budget in parliament, multifunctional role of parliament, ineffectiveness of parliamentary control, position of Raj Sabha, parliamentary privileges, and the sovereignty of the parliament. Alright, so these are the topics that we have decided for the discussion. If we talk about the topics that we have covered so far, is the introduction part, organization of parliament, composition of two houses, thereafter the system of elections to Lok Sabha, duration of two houses, and the membership of parliament. Okay, and the topics we are you can say left with, or you can say the topic on which we have been discussing is the presiding officers of parliament, and the left topics are leaders in parliament, sessions of parliament, devices of parliamentary proceedings, legislative procedure in parliament, joint sitting of two houses, budget in parliament, monthly functional role of parliament, ineffectiveness of parliamentary control, position of Raj Sabha, parliamentary privileges, and the sovereignty of the parliament. Alright, so this is the picture that we have. Alright, so basically in this lecture we will start from where we had left in the previous one. So in the previous lecture that we had start our discussion over the presiding officers of parliament, right? That's a topic on which we had started the discussion. So here I'm going to ask you the question, like who are designated as the presiding officers of the parliament. Alright, for this you have 30 seconds to answer, then I will give you the answer, and then your time starts now. Just think about it. We had just discussed it in the previous lecture, so I hope that you will give the right answer. Okay, 10 seconds have been passed off. Last 20 seconds are remaining. Last 10 seconds. Alright, the time's up. So basically, if we talk about the presiding officers of the parliament, then we know they are four. First one is the Speaker of Lok Sabha. Alright. Second one is the Deputy Speaker of Lok Sabha. Thereafter, Chairman of Rajya Sabha. Alright. And then Deputy Chair of Rajya Sabha. Okay, so these four are the presiding officers of the parliament. And if we talk about the Speaker of Lok Sabha, then basically in the previous lecture we had discussed about the election and the tenure. Alright, in election part we had discussed that basically it is elected amongst the members of Lok Sabha. Okay, so he is elected amongst the members of Lok Sabha. And if we talk about the tenure, so the tenure is as long as Lok Sabha continues he will continue his tenure. All right, that's the thing. Here, the one thing which you are you can say required to remember is that if in between the Lok Sabha dissolves, as we know that the tenure of the Lok Sabha is for the 5 years, but the President of India may dissolve the Lok Sabha even before the completion of tenure. So in the case the Lok Sabha dissolves in the midway of 5 years, then the presiding officer, or you can say the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, is not required to submit the resignation immediately. All right, he will not vacate the office until the new Lok Sabha met and the new speaker elected. All right, thereafter if we talk about the removal process, so basically he could be removed by the Lok Sabha, but for the discussion 40 days prior notice must be given. Okay, 40 days prior notice must be given to the speaker that the proceeding is going to start in the house about the removal of him. All right, and while the discussion would be going on, he will not act as a speaker. Got it? So these are the things. So basically now we will continue from where we had left. So in this lecture basically we are going to start with the roles, powers and the functions of the speaker. Okay, so if we talk about the first one, the speaker is the head of the Lok Sabha and its representatives. Okay, like representatives means members of Lok Sabha. So he would be the head of them. Thereafter, the next thing, if we talk about, he is the guardian of powers and privileges of the members, the house as a whole and its committees. All right, he is the principal spokesman of the house and his decision in the parliamentary matters is final as long as Lok Sabha concerned. Okay, like in the Lok Sabha, whatever the parliamentary methods will be discussed, okay, whatever the parliamentary proceedings will be held, he would be the one whose decision will be the final. He is thus much more than merely the presiding officer of the Lok Sabha because he holds the guardian nature of the powers and privileges of the members and these committees as a whole. All right. In these capacities, he is vested with the vast, varied and vital responsibilities and enjoy the great honor, high dignity and the supreme authority within the house. All right. Here the parliamentary methods, why I am saying again, because many a times the students got confused between the Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. Okay, like if we talk about the parliament, then we had discussed the parliament is having the 3 divisions: president, Rajya Sabha, then comes the Lok Sabha, right? So if we talk about the parliamentary matters, so do not get confused that these matters comprises the entire parliament. Please do not get confused within it. Okay, if we talk about it, the parliament basically here denotes the Lok Sabha. All right, so whatever the parliamentary methods are concerned with the Lok Sabha, the decision of the Speaker of the House will be final in them. All right, now let's move forward. So basically if we talk about the derivation of power, if we talk about this, the derivation of power, so remember the Speaker of Lok Sabha derives his powers and duties from the 3 sources. Okay, the first source is the Constitution of India. Okay, the second source is rules of procedure and the conduct of business of Lok Sabha, and the third are the parliamentary conventions. Okay, like statutory powers that are unwritten or unspecified in the rules. Okay, so these are the three sorts. Like we talk about these sorts, and if we write them down so that we could remember them for a long time. The first is the Constitution of India. Second is the procedure of conduct of business in Lok Sabha, and third are the parliamentary conventions. Okay, so these three are the main thing. Here just write down procedure and conduct. Okay, so these three are the source of powers of speaker. All right, just remember this thing. Altogether, he has the following powers and the duties if we talk about him. First thing is that he maintains order and decorum in the house for conducting its business and regulating its proceedings. Because we know, if you just watch the sessions of parliament on your TV, on mobiles and all, then we know whenever the debates held, generally there is a situation of chaos. All right, and then you see that basically it's the duty of the speaker that he orders to maintain the decorum so that the business conduct of house could be done effectively and proceedings could be regulated. Okay, so this is his primary responsibility and he has final power in this regard. Okay, thereafter he is the final interpreter of the provisions like Constitution of India, rules of procedure and conduct of business of Lok Sabha, and the parliamentary precedents within the house. Okay, he is the final interpreter of all these provisions. Got it? Thereafter, he has the power that he could adjourn the house or suspend the meeting in the absence of quorum. Okay, so what is a quorum? If we talk about the quorum in the stated form, then it is the minimum strength of members required for conduction of parliamentary proceedings in the house. Okay, it is the minimum strength of members required for conduction of parliamentary proceedings in the house. All right, and it is 1/10 of total number of members of the house. Okay, so at least whatsoever is the number of the members. 1/10 is required in the parliament in the house of that time, then only the parliamentary proceedings could be carried on. Okay, so if this quorum is not present, or you can say if the member strength is less than 1/10, then the speaker may adjourn the house or may cancel the meeting. All right, and through which article this 1/10 strength is fixed? So remember, this is Article 103 of the Indian Constitution. Okay, so the Article 103 of the Indian Constitution, basically this states that at least 1/10 of the total number of members of the house must be present while carrying on the parliamentary proceeding. Until or unless this condition not satisfied, the conduct of house could not be carried on. All right, okay. After this, he does not vote in the first instance, but he can exercise a casting vote in the case of tie. Okay, so you can say, suppose, first thing that you can see here is that the speaker does not have general voting powers as the other members have. Okay, he does not have any general voting power as the other members have, but he having the tying power. So if you could explain it in a detailed form, so you can say, suppose there are total 500 members. All right, and there is any topic, for example XYZ. Okay, so during the voting, what happened? That 250 members are in favor and 250 members are in against. Okay, so here you can say that this is a case of tie. All right, so basically whenever such kind of situation arises, then the speaker could use his voting power and he could decide whether he want to go in the favor or in the against. All right, because if he cast his vote, so here will be a +1 or here will be a +1, and whatever place will get the +1, the place will get the majority. So on the basis of this, whether the bill should be in favor or in the against, that would be decided. All right, and here you can see, in other words, only when the house is divided equally on any question, the speaker is entitled to vote. That's why I told you that he is not having the general voting power. Such vote is called the casting vote. All right, and its purpose is to resolve a deadlock or the tie situation in which equal members are in the favor or equal members are in the opposition. Thereafter, he presides over a joint sitting of two houses of parliament. Such a sitting is summoned by the president to settle a deadlock between the two houses on a bill. Like if we talk about this situation, so we know that the provision of joint sitting of two houses, we had borrowed it from some constitution. And what was that competition? That constitution? So that was an Australian constitution from which we had brought this concept, joint sitting of two houses. And if we talk about the procedure of passing of ordinary bill, then we know it must be approved by both houses with majority. Okay, must be approved by both houses with majority. That is a condition. So suppose there is some bill. Let's take an hypothetical situation. There was one bill which was approved by the Lok Sabha, but in the Rajya Sabha this bill was rejected. Okay, so these situations are generally referred as a deadlock situation. Okay, like one house is in the favor while the another one is in opposition. All right, so to resolve these kind of situations, basically there is a preference given to the joint sitting. It means that the members of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha will sit together and will discuss the bill, and then the voting will reorganize. And if the bill passed, the bill will become legislation. If the bill fails, the bill will be failed. All right, but who preside over this joint sitting? Chairman or speaker? So remember, the speaker is the answer. Okay, the speaker will preside over these joint sittings. And who called, and you can say who can summons the joint sitting of two houses? So remember, the President of India is the one who could call for the joint sitting. All right. Thereafter, he can allow a secret sitting of the house at the request of the leader of the house. When the house sits in secret, no stranger can be present in the chamber, lobby, or galleries except with the permission of the speaker. All right. Like if we talk about it, then we know in the general discussion, or you can say during the general sitting or session, okay, the persons from normal people, okay, from journalists and all, they are allowed to sit in the lobby, chambers, and the galleries to watch the parliamentary proceedings. All right, this is called the general sitting or the sessions. But whenever the secret sitting of the house arranges, it means that there is some utmost important matter which is required to be discussed. So whenever such kind of situation arises, all right, so here the leader of the house will make the request to the speaker, and it's depend upon the speaker to allow it or not. And if the speaker allowed, then what will happen, that only the members of the house would be allowed to sit there, and no stranger and no spectacular will be allowed to present in chamber, lobby, or galleries until or unless the permission obtained from the speaker of the Lok Sabha. Okay, so this is the provision of secret sitting of the houses. All right, thereafter he is the one who decides whether the bill is a money bill or not, and his decision on the question is final. Like if we talk about the money bill, so remember, whenever the annual financial statement which is in short also known as budget, okay, so whenever the budget presented in the parliament, so basically it carries the two broad headings: planned expenditure and expected revenue. Okay, these two things are mentioned there in the annual financial statement. All right, planned expenditure or the expected revenue. So basically, if we talk about this planned expenditure, so to withdraw it, the money bill is presented, and this money bill contains the provisions through which the money will be arranged for the expenditures the government had planned for the certain year. All right, and basically the Speaker of Lok Sabha having the power to decide whether the bill which has been presented by the government is money bill or not. Okay, and his decision will be final in this regard. When a money bill is transmitted to the Rajya Sabha for the recommendations and presented to the President for assent, the Speaker endorses on the bill his certificate that it is a money bill. All right, until or unless the Speaker endorses it, money bill will not entertain. Okay, like this is the money bill. Thereafter, basically, he decides the question or disqualification of the member of the Lok Sabha, as we had discussed, arising on the ground satisfaction under the provision of 10th schedule. Okay. In 1992, the Supreme Court ruled out that the decision of the Speaker in this regard is subject to the judicial review. Previously, the provision of judicial review was not presented in this regard, and basically the Speaker decision was final. But later on in the 1992, during the judgment, the Supreme Court said that even the Speaker decision would be brought to the judicial review. Thereafter, he acted as the ex-officio chairman of the Indian Parliamentary Group, which is the link between the Parliament of India and the various parliaments of the world. All right. He also acted as the ex-officio chairman of the Conference of Presiding Officer of the legislative bodies in the country. Ex-officio means he could discuss, but he could not cast his votes. Thereafter, we know that the parliaments having the certain committees, okay, and whatever the parliamentary committees would be chosen from the Lok Sabha, he will be the one who appoints a chairman, okay, and even supervises their functioning to check out the one thing, which is the validity of their actions, whether they are accordance with the law or not. He himself is the chairman of the Business Advisory Committee, Rules Committee, and the General Purpose Committee. Now it is very, very important. Okay, like he is not only having the power to choose the parliamentary committee's chairman, but he himself a chairman of parliamentary committees like the Business Advisory Committees, Rules Committees, and the General Purpose Committee. So we can say that there are 3 committees: Speaker as a chairman, Business Advisory Committee, Rules Committee, and then comes Advisory Committee, General Purpose, sorry. General Purpose Committee. All right. So that's the thing. So students, basically in this lecture, we have completed till here. In the next lecture, we will start from here. Till then, just revise the facts and figures that all we have discussed in this lecture and be ready for the other lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture, and what we say thank you.